Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Get Your Head Straight to Home Ed summer series. Now, my name is Kelly Rigg. I'm one of the people who, the co-hosts of the Big Home Ed Conversations, and I'm also a mindset coach. I work with parents as they transition to home education, overcoming all of the joyful little issues that we tend to come up against, the mental headspace issues, the fears, the expectations, the realities, all of the sort of trappings that stop us from actually jumping 2 feet in and feeling confident as we begin. Now, for a lot of us, when we start home educating, we're doing so from a place of taking them from school and starting fresh with a whole new family ethos and lifestyle. But so many of us have no idea really how to make sure that we really embody the lifestyle that we actually wanted to have. Now, I have to apologize. It feels like the world today is desperately trying to interject into my podcast. I've had so many train horns going off and the dog woofing and goodness knows what else. I've attempted to start this at least 5 times. So we're just going to roll with it. And I do apologize for the brief interjections of the world around us. We're just going to be keeping it real today. Now, last time we did deschooling and deregistering. So that was the first episode that we did was kind of covering that initial kind of what are these things? What do we mean by that? This episode, we're going to be talking about what are you doing this? What is the reasons? Where is this coming from? What are you hoping to achieve? What are some of the feelings and fears and anxieties or whatever that you might have kind of hang-ups hanging around this right now? Next week, we're going to be, or next time we do one anyway, they're not kind of exactly coming out weekly. We're going to be talking about how we don't forget you, that actually you matter, you and your partner, if they're involved in this situation, and obviously making sure that you both retain you in this conversation and we don't lose that. And lastly, we're going to be coming on to the non-negotiables of your family values, how you actually want to be trying to move things forward and how we're going to make sure we really cement those and get them right. Now, getting into today's topic, what might really surprise you is that actually when I first asked myself the question of, why are you doing this? Why is this so important to you? There was a lot of reasons. And one of them was the reasons we're talking about in the last episode is that kind of concept of my son was a lot happier during COVID. He was a lot calmer. He was more engaged. He was more creative. So was I. We minimized the pressures and demands of the outside world. And suddenly we were thriving. We're actually having a brilliant time learning together. But also, I hadn't really fully formed my kind of, my disillusionment with the school system back then. All I could feel was a sense of disconnect. I could just sense that it wasn't quite what we wanted, that I wanted to spend more time with my kids, but I didn't want them away from me 5 days a week. I wanted to see them meet their developmental milestones. And actually, I'm a bit of a rebel and I just wanted to try something different. I wanted a different lifestyle. I wanted flexibility. I wanted to travel when we wanted. I wanted to see friends when we wanted. I wanted to sleep and eat and rest when we wanted. And I wanted to let learning happen on its own schedule. And over time, I have developed a heck of a lot more opinions and have solidified my understanding of the agenda behind the school system and the types of learning styles and methods they use in schools and the testing and all the other things, which have definitely led me to feeling confident in my decision. But ultimately, the first things I wanted was a lifestyle shift. I wanted to feel in control of our family and to know that we had choices and to not feel like we were beholden to somebody else's. Now, you may have those reasons. You may have 50,000 other ones. And I'd really love for you to reach out and tell me what they are. I'd love to hear what's going on for you right now. I do offer a free 30-minute clarity call, which helps anybody if you just want to have a quick chat with someone. No pressure at all to do anything further after that. But do reach out. Pop me an email. I've had a few people send me an email already, actually, off the back of grabbing the workbook that's associated with this series. So there is also that to go and grab as well if you want to. It's got loads of extra questions that you can work through either alone, with your family, with your partner, whoever matters, to help you kind of really work your way through this. But hopefully you'll get a lot out of these episodes too. So essentially, there's lots of different reasons why we might be motivated to choose home education. But the question, why are you doing this, is multifaceted. Now, I know that you are going to be having a lot of feelings around this, and it might be really positive, and I hope it is. But I also know that there's going to be some trappings. There's going to be some guilt. There's going to be some fear. I know that when I first started out, I Googled the questions, will they have friends? Will they still be able to do their exams one day? Will they still be able to go on to university? Will this limit them in some ways? And actually, the answer is a lot of the time that actually universities love home educated kids. And I've actually spoken to some university professors who have reaffirmed this as well. We've also got the concept of kind of like, will they have successful careers? Will they be able to go on to do whatever they want to do? Does it matter if they don't meet these timelines head on, like if they don't do their GCSEs at 16, etc., etc.? Like, I asked all these questions. I was scared about them too. And ultimately, there are so many great kind of groups and communities and people out there who ultimately reassured me initially that that was the case. But since then, I've actually stumbled across a number of people who were home educated in their adult life. Like, I'm meeting them in their adult life and talking to them and finding out that actually they had a great time and they loved home education and it really meant a lot to them, and that they've obviously gone on to do really passionate things and have gone on to be really successful in their own rights. It's helped to constantly reassure me as I've come up against these roadblocks. And I guess all I can do right now is to kind of try and say to you that these are things which you don't need to worry about. You just need to be proactive and support them and encourage them along the way, and that they will absolutely be able to access everything that a child going to school would be able to access. Now, I saw a fantastic post the other day that really made me stop and go, that is a great way of putting it. I'll have to find out who it was and make sure I mention them in the description. But essentially, they said, how long would it be if schools became compulsory from 6 months? How long would it take for us as a community to believe that children only learnt to walk if they went to school? And it really made me think, gosh, yes, that's exactly right. Like, we've actually really started to believe that if children don't go to school, they won't learn to read, that they need a qualified teacher to help them learn these things, that they absolutely cannot be trusted to learn all by themselves, that they will not be curious and open-minded and wanting to do things by themselves. This in itself is a fantastic limiting belief to kind of come back around to, because actually, when you think about the environment of school and the type of learning in school and the intention behind it, obviously to try and get them to learn a set criteria of things, and they have to do it by a certain time, they have to be tested on it and check that they know it and blah, blah, blah. That format of learning, it was often quite unpleasant for a lot of us, right? That we actually found that quite stressful and quite worrying. We felt a lot of extrinsic motivation, worried about what other people thought of us as opposed to what we thought of ourselves. And Bridget Phillipson actually did a post recently where she was talking about 4-year-olds not being quite ready for school because they couldn't sit down and follow instructions, etc. And I found myself thinking that she was saying how they're not ready to learn. They're coming into school not ready to learn. And the truth is that I think they've completely lost sight of the fact that human beings are innately curious creatures. You cannot stop a child learning, right? They want to learn. They want to learn all the things, and they want to learn about so many cool things. And they've got 1,000 questions a day if they are given an environment that inspires them to be curious. And I couldn't help but comment on her post saying, if you can't get children to learn in your schools, it is absolutely nothing to do with the kids. I can promise you now. So ultimately, we know that our kids are incredible creatures. We love them very much, and we have their best in mind at all times. We want to support them. We want to see them thrive and grow and be happy and successful in all the ways that matters. And what we really have to start doing here is breaking this down. There's a number of different angles to come at this question from. So let's try and cover some of those off. The why are you doing this? So we've got to think about it from a education perspective. Let's go there first. Why are we trying to home educate at home? Number one, a lot of us start there. Why are we educating in a different way? And that's going to either be because you've fallen out of love with the school system. Maybe you are completely disillusioned by it. Maybe you've been a teacher and you've seen it and you don't like it. Maybe actually you don't have a strong feeling about how schools teach, but actually you just really want to enjoy their milestones, that you want to enjoy seeing them meet all those different levels. So ask yourself that question. Educationally, why are you doing this? Like, what is the main reasons for you? And ultimately, I really want to stress that pretty much whatever you think here is fine. Like, it's completely fine. The only things that I would maybe be wary of is because you want them to be super duper successful, that you want them to be the most incredibly intelligent people on the planet, because you are going to one-to-one help them to really digest 1,000,001 books a day and it's all going to be incredible. That we have got to be realistic, and we have got to remember that children are children and they're still going to want to learn what they want to learn, and that we need to make sure that we're really conscious that the goal of education isn't just financial success. It isn't just relationship success. It isn't just being able to buy their own house one day, or independence and being able to leave home and be confident on their own. It's actually 1,000,001 other things as well. Our education encompasses our mental health, our general wellness, our ability to cope with difficult challenges, our ability to enter into the community and to function. It's also going to be about kind of the relationship they have with their kids one day, their ability to manage their own finances, and et cetera, et cetera. There's so many facets to this that ultimately we as parents are already responsible for an awful lot of these outside of their schooling career. So most of this isn't new to us anyway. But what we have to remember is that home education, as it encompasses all of their education, you are essentially thinking about every single bit of information that will allow them to go on to be generally successful, happy, and good lives. And that, despite all of your best efforts, you are not ultimately responsible for that. That they are an individual human being. They're going to go off into the world. They're going to live their lives. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to mess up relationships. They're going to mess up jobs. They're going to end up flat on their backside sometimes. And sure, you might pick them back up and dust them off and help to get them going again. There might be all kinds of touch points where you're doing that for them. But ultimately, they are then going to go on to be responsible for their own life. And that's all you're really there to do, is to guide and facilitate and support as much as you can and offer opportunity to help them to do what they will with the life that they have been given on this planet. But coming back to the question, why are you doing this? Why does it matter to you? What is it that is really getting to you right now? What are you worried about? What are the struggles that you are facing as a parent? Why are you finding yourself wanting to pull them out of school? Because you may even have resistance from them. They may not even want to, but you may have very, very good reasons as to why you are. Maybe they're being bullied. Maybe you can see that they're unhappy. Maybe you can see that they're not on a good trajectory. Maybe you want something different for them. You want them to have an opportunity that is different. Now, my son, he was only literally 4 when we first started, but all of his friends were going to school. He was at a nursery, so he'd seen all the teachers coming in from the local schools, meeting the kids. And you know what they'd been doing? And I didn't realize this at the time, but they had been segregating him. They had been moving him out of the way and not like participating him in any of these conversations about school. And they had been making him feel really weird and lonely and isolated because he was the only one in his nursery who was going to be home educated at the time. So when I found out, obviously I was furious, and I said to them, you do understand what you're doing, don't you? You're basically like, you are isolating him from the conversation about what the next steps of his education look like. You're not talking about home education. You're acting like it doesn't even exist. When he's asking about school, you're just trying to deflect the conversation and not have it with him because you just don't understand it. Why not get curious and ask me some questions? Now, obviously I helped to try and educate them at the time. And I obviously worked to speak to him a lot in the times around school, and around nursery, when he was nervous and he was worried, he didn't know what it meant. And he was like, I want to go to school with my friends. And I'm just like, okay, number one, like, we're in a slightly different catchment anyway. So none of the kids that go to this nursery would be actually going to the school that you would be going to if you went to school. But also at that point, being an adult and recognizing what I could recognize and seeing his needs as I saw them, I made a decision for him. And initially, he wasn't very happy with me for it. And he did think that I was being weird, that I was just taking him out of school, that he wanted to go to school. That's what everybody does. He'd just been dragged along with the kind of tide of what happens next, like we all tend to do. And what I did was I very, very quickly immersed us in the home ed community. So I took him straight out to go meet other home educators at home ed meetups, at parks, at museums, at all kinds of different places. And we started going regularly so that he started to make some friends. And within about 2 or 3 weeks of schools being started and him not at school, he was happy and enjoying himself. And we had stepped up just gently and started doing some extra little maths and reading and bits and pieces. But ultimately, we were just focused on building our community and making sure that he had some people around him, and I did too, that helped to reassure us and make us feel like we were on the right path. And oddly enough, within a few months of starting, we had to go and pick up my friend's son from school. And he was so excited. My son was so excited to go inside the school gates, to go and see what it was like in there, to look around, to notice what was going on. And we picked him up and he was full of questions. He was asking his friend, like, what's it like in there? What do you do all day? What do you get to do? What are you learning about? Blah, 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 blah. And do you know what was really fascinating is his friend obviously stood there and was like, well, we get in, we go for a run, we have to run a mile around the playground, then we go in and we have assembly, so you have to sit down and listen to that, and then we go to class, and then we have to go and like do this, and this. And if we've done all of our reading, then we're allowed to go and sit on the mat and look at other books. And he goes, you're not allowed to look at the other books unless you've done your reading. And he was like, no, like you have to do your reading first. And he was like, what? Like, and it was so interesting watching his reaction to his friends being like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And obviously it led to some great conversations in our private life about how we obviously get to flexibly pick and choose what we want to do and how we want to learn and what subjects we want to cover and how much more control he's got over his education. And very quickly he did start to say, okay, this is better. This feels good. This is exactly what I wanted. And so he's had a few other touch points like that, where we have had other experiences with children who go to school, telling him about their experiences. And it's really helped to reassure him over time that the decision was the right one. And certainly if you ask them now if they'd like to go to school, they typically say no, they wouldn't. Now, I do not spend a lot of time encouraging them to think badly about school. I certainly don't talk about it in a negative way. And if I do talk about it, then I just say, look, this is just like, lots of people love it there. It's really exciting, because the truth is we never know what life will do to us. We don't know if I was to get terminally ill, for example, and they might have to go. There might be things down the line that changes our trajectory. But ultimately, every year that they get to spend free living this life, learning what they want to learn and following their own trajectory feels good to me, and hopefully builds that foundation for owning their own learning and wanting to do more with it. Now, your motivations and your reasons may be very different. You might find yourself listening to that thinking like that actually you really don't want to pull them out of school because they've got lots of established friendships already. They feel really unsettled by the idea that actually maybe you're dealing with some really challenging behaviors around school, and the concept of having them home is really scary. Really try and have a think about kind of like, again, why are you doing this? What are your real reasons? And try and hold faith to some of them. Some of them are going to feel swayed by so many people. You're going to have lots of people's opinions and ideas and thoughts, including your child, possibly trying to sway you in another direction. But try and have faith that you're listening to someone who knows. I have seen many, many, many different types of children coming into the home ed community from school with various different backgrounds and all the rest of it. And they will find friends and they will find success in their own way. And with some time spent deschooling and sort of getting kind of schooly mindsets out of your head, you will find a really great rhythm with their learning. And chances are they will then continue to then go on to be really happy and to really enjoy their home education process. But I can't obviously speak for every child, and you have to know them best. And if you find yourself thinking that actually your gut is saying to you that they don't want to be out of school, then maybe there's other ways to support them more around their schooling to ensure that they're able to access school and also access some more child-led kind of regulating activities that help them to feel a bit more in control of their lifestyle and what they want to achieve. Now, the other kind of elements around kind of like, why are you doing this, may come down to lifestyle choices, travel, finances, all kinds of different things. But I just want you to sit there and just really keep asking yourself the question over and over and over again. Write down your reasons and just reflect on them for a little bit. And I want you to just start to get curious. The reason why we're doing that is to kind of go, okay, I am choosing to do this because I believe that this is going to be the correct, like this is going to be right for us. Why do I think that? What is it that I'm worried about? What are some of the things, what are the fears that I'm facing right now? And this is where working with a coach can really help, because obviously I can help to prompt you and guide you through a conversation like that through your mind as you're coming up against the challenges. So if you're listening to this thinking this is great, but actually to do this myself, I'm just really not able to access the reasons, I can't think why, then book in one of those quick half an hour calls with me. Let's have a chat, because ultimately it really helps sometimes to break these down and to start to see where they're coming from. And it really helps you to then start to reframe them and look forward and actually go, okay, this is why, this is what we're doing next. Now, what I really want you to do as an exercise is your homework off the back of this is to just take a pause and imagine, first of all, like, so imagining your perfect day. So this is what we're going to move on to next. We want to be wary of expectations versus reality here. This is very important. We all know that a perfect day doesn't always end up being very perfect at all. But I want you to just have a think for a minute about, say, for example, you are on holiday with your kids. You are in a good mood. You're about a week in, right? Like, you've had a good rest. You've had lots of food made for you. You haven't had to make a bed. Even if this has never happened to you, just try and bear with me on this. Just try and imagine it just for a second. What would your perfect day with your kids look like? Your perfect lifestyle day. What would it look like? Would it look like getting up when you're ready to get up? Would it look like being able to stay in your pajamas for a little while in the morning without having to rush to get dressed? Would it look like being able to have a really lovely family breakfast and to talk about something really interesting over breakfast, maybe listen to the news and to discuss what's going on in the world? Would it be reading a book whilst they're eating their breakfast and chatting to them about something really interesting? Could it be discussing your day ahead and where you're going to go and the adventures you're going to have and what they're interested in right now, and just listening to them chat about their dreams they had last night and stuff they've been working on, or the colouring picture they've been working on that morning? Like, what is it? Like, what does that morning breakfast time look like? Does it look like getting up and outside really early? Does it look like going for a beautiful hike before the sun's even fully up? Like, what does your perfect morning look like? Then I want you to think about kind of what you would then go on to do that day. What would your best day out look like? Would it be going to a theme park? Would it be going to the beach? Would it be just going for a beautiful walk around a local lake? Would it be hanging out at home, watching movies and chilling and eating popcorn and laughing and doing puzzles together? Like, what looks great to you? And I just want you to imagine that day. Imagine you are experiencing that day. And you might have several different days. I mean, all of those might sound great to you. They do to me. But you might find yourself thinking, okay, this is what I imagine it would look like. And now I want you to weave the home ed into it. I want you to weave the conversation topics, the little bit of maths that you might do, a little bit of maths worksheets, or maybe it's doing an online app, or maybe it's going and doing some fun maths hopscotch in the park. Maybe it's putting a load of different shaped balls and things, different weighted balls on a roundabout and spinning it to see which one flies off first. Like, whatever it is that you find yourself thinking about here, like, let's try and weave in some fun science experiments, some art when you're going out for a walk, like take a pen and paper and go and draw some leaf shapes. Maybe you might take a guidebook with you so you can spot butterflies. Maybe you might just be having a chat in the car about what all the road signs mean and how you drive and what you're looking for when you're driving and why we drive on the left side and blah, 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 blah. Like, have a think about how you might weave the life lessons into those days, the experience into those days. Look at how, like, when I'm giving those examples, look at how natural and gently they might be interwoven. They certainly don't have to look like a formal curriculum sat at a desk covering those subjects and drawing them out and all the rest of it at a table around your dining room table. But your day might include a little bit of that. It might include over breakfast that you all sit and do something like that just to kind of cover off a little bit of a topic. Then you get outside and you go look for some. Whatever it might be, okay, try and just have a little think about how home ed might weave into that. And I just want you to visualize that day. And I want you to visualize then how you feel in that day. Do you feel empowered? Do you feel excited? Do you feel calm? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel like there's loads of stress and, oh, we must do more, like I really don't know if we're doing enough? What feelings are attached to that day? I really hope that if it's a beautiful day that you've created the absolute ideal in your head, that it will be filled with empowerment and excitement and nourishment and curiosity and helping you to kind of see that actually all of these things are possible. Now, we're going to take that and we're just going to have a quick expectations versus reality check-in. And we're going to say that actually one of your kids isn't getting along with it that day, and everything that you've tried to put on, they are not responding well to, and you're feeling a little bit like they are kind of dragging it down, that actually you've got this amazing idea in your head of what it was going to look like and it isn't working out that way. And I want you to just remember that these days happen a lot, and actually you will find that an awful lot of days don't quite follow the pattern that you maybe thought they were going to, and that is okay, that it's still okay, that home education doesn't mean it isn't right and it isn't going to work. If actually most days you have an intention to cover, say, 3 things and you only cover 2, it doesn't matter if actually you have to move house and for 2 or 3 weeks you have to put home ed down in the formal sense entirely. You may have to do that sometimes. You may get sick. They may get sick. Things come up. Stuff happens. We have to remember that school as it stands at the moment works out to be something like, obviously, over an entire year, if you spread out an entire school year over a proper year, so 365 days, and you took away all of the downtime, the messing about, the sorting out pencil cases, the playtime, all the rest of it, take all of that away. There's a teacher who did this and she's done a great article on it, which essentially comes around to, it basically boils down to 45 minutes per day of structured learning if you spread it out over 365 days. Now, that is tiny. It's a tiny amount of actual time spent fully concentrating on learning. And this is important. We have to remember this because we worry about offering a full-time education to our children, thinking it needs to be like 30 hours a week, every single week, without fail. And that's just not true. Even in school, they are not having that much concentrating learning time. A lot of it is buffer time. It is the transitioning between different things and activities and tasks and getting out pencil cases and stopping someone messing about and listening to the teacher explain it and then having a go by themselves and having it marked and that at the end. And remember, there are days and days and days of the school year that are spent doing fun word searches and colouring sheets and watching a movie in the end, like last couple of days of term, right? Like, so there is all kinds of fun that goes on in schools as well. That means that actually a lot of those hours that we maybe would consider to be learning time aren't actually spent doing really focused, active learning. So realistically, even days or even weeks went by where very little seemed to be happening, I can almost guarantee you on reflection, you'll see an awful lot of independent learning happening and curiosity and things that they'll be doing themselves. But ultimately, have some faith. Like, expectations versus reality. I've done a whole episode on this before. Like, we believe it to be a certain thing, and we can sometimes see it turning into something else, and that can be really scary. But it will keep evolving, it will keep changing, you'll keep tweaking, you'll notice the challenges you're having, and you'll rise to them. And I know this because to choose to home educate does not take a parent who's not interested in rising. Home education is a parent someone who wants to do something really great with their life. They want better for their family. They want to make sure that they are actually living it and enjoying it and want to take the bull by the horns. So I know that if you're considering home education, that you're already one of those people, even if you feel like you aren't. And trust me, just this morning, I didn't feel like I was for a minute. I had a bit of a cry. I was a bit fed up. I'm dealing with a very neurodivergent family. We have days when we wind each other up chronically. It's really hard. But ultimately didn't lead to a day that was a complete and utter failure. There is no such thing. Like, every day is just a day, and it progresses gently and consistently towards a future that ultimately we have no exact idea what that will be. And we're just doing our best to fill in the blanks and to offer our kids as much support with the curiosities they hold as humanly possible. So have some faith, but also try and really be conscious of that, kind of imagine that beautiful day, but also take your time to consider what are some of the things that might go wrong? What are some of the things that might bother you? And start to mentally kind of think, okay, well, how would we handle that? Like, what would we do? And start to have some compassion for yourself and for your kids, that flexibility is a huge part of what home education looks like. Now, the last bit of this homework is to simply just try and take pause and note down your hopes and your dreams. I want you to put down your hopes and your dreams for your kids, for your family, and for you. I don't think I need to explain what I mean by this too deeply, but I want you to just top level, what are you hoping for? And try not to make these too lofty. We don't want our kids to necessarily go off and be able to have their own home, to have their own car, to have a successful marriage. Like, we're not in charge of any of those things, okay? They can be hopes and dreams we have for them, for sure, but we can't take responsibility for them. These things are things which will happen or they won't, and we can guide them and support them as much as we can along the way. But I don't want you to start taking responsibility for all these things. I just want you to allow them to help to form the dream, to help you to actually picture what your home ed days would look like. If you want your child to feel happy more of the time than you manage to feel happy, then maybe it's just about helping them to build self-acceptance and love, to work on their mental health and wellness, to actually teach them some of the tools that have helped you in adulthood to overcome disappointment and doubt and self-flagellation that we have to do every day, a bit of breath work, a bit of mindfulness, helping to show them the beauty in living a slightly slower life. Whatever it might be, try and think about the fact that happiness as well, if happiness becomes one of those, that actually happiness is not a fixed state, that we can be generally content with the life that we have. But I can promise you, no matter how content we are, there are always going to be things which bother us and frustrate us and that we're maybe working to try and resolve. So try and remember that no matter how beautiful a life you create for your children, and no matter how beautiful a life you envision for them, that the road there is not smooth and straight. And that's okay. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to be meandering. It's not going to be a one, like, A to B, nice and simple. And if it is, then like, lucky you. But I know that's certainly not what it looks like for me. So try and make a note. Think about the hopes and the dreams for all of you. And have this as a family discussion. What do they hope for you? What do they want to see for you as well? Like, we want to know, right? Because actually this is a family ethos. This is something which all of you are embarking on as a journey together. It's not just about education. It is 100% about a whole lifestyle shift. And that can sound really like scary at times, but it's not. It's truly beautiful. And it's a great opportunity for you as a family to actually say, do you know what? We are a unit. We are a team. We love each other and we want to do this amazing thing together. And we will. Now, wrapping up this episode. So that is the mindset portion of this episode. The other part of this episode is the practical, okay? We're going to be talking today about the home education philosophies, influential thinkers, people who have helped to form my opinions and my ideas, but also may form yours. These aren't necessarily all people that I pull stuff from, but I'm going to give you a quick lowdown on some names and some books that I really love. And I'm then going to ask you to just go off and enjoy researching yourself. Go and have a little look into them and see whether or not you align more with them, because there are an awful lot of people out there who over the years, and obviously compulsory schooling, or compulsory education rather, schooling of it, and in the kind of sense of school, has only really been in place for about 140 years approximately, sort of Victorian times, think Victorian times. And that has been really kind of influential over how we believe that education is provided to children. But it isn't actually built upon the foundations of child psychologists and people who know better. A lot of it is built upon the agenda of a government and the hopes and ambitions for a country. It's trying to get children all thinking and learning in the same way to be able to go on to industrial supports, basically. A lot of it was Industrial Revolution based. Some of it was kind of based around the concept of trying to make everybody behave the same, and to think the same, so that we could have a really kind of one big push direction for a country. There's all kinds of different kind of reasons and agendas for the type of education that we offer. The curriculum these days is fairly broad. It covers a lot of different subjects in a relatively small way. It doesn't sound like it. I know it might seem really intimidating having to teach it, but it's actually quite limited in terms of its content. And a lot of people out there right now are massively pushing back against that, kind of really emphasizing the fact that we are fast transitioning into a future that obviously involves AI and new technologies, and obviously the way that we actually work and function as a community. So there's an awful lot of change coming and not an awful lot of change happening in the curriculum. So there's an awful lot of incredible people out there who have had some fantastic ideas and philosophies and have helped to explain the histories behind schooling, the histories behind education, and how we should be kind of looking at education for our children. And you may relate to some of them. You may find some of them abhorrent. You can decide for yourself. But essentially, some of the ones that I've come across so far that I really, really love, John Holt. So he's the pioneer of unschooling. Unschooling is the concept of allowing a child to lead their own education, to offer you what they want to do next, and you support them and guide them. So he believed children learn best when they're free to explore their interests without coercion. So removing the extrinsic motivation of adults in their lives. So his book, How Children Learn, by John Holt, is a great read. You've then also got Charlotte Mason. So her philosophy was that education is an atmosphere, a discipline, a life. So she focuses on living books, nature study, and cultivating good habits. So Home Education by Charlotte Mason is another great one that lots and lots of people I know kind of abide by. But that kind of real concept of allowing your child to have a fantastic environment that just is very enriching and allows them to kind of continue on their learning. Again, not entirely self-led, but is definitely allowing children to use books and nature and getting out into the world to actually kind of build on their own education. Then you've got Maria Montessori, so emphasizing kind of self-directed activity, hands-on learning, collaborative play. So that kind of the philosophy behind that was that children learn at their own pace in a prepared environment. So you're providing a great environment again, and they will actually use that environment to learn and grow by themselves. So The Absorbent Mind by Maria Montessori is a great book to read from that one. Another one that I've read that I've really liked actually as a book, sort of advocating for creativity in education. So that's Sir Ken Robinson's Out of Our Minds, The Power of Being Creative. And essentially his sort of questions around standardization, testing, and how we kind of go off into the working world, like expected to be at a certain level. And actually, the more personalized our learning is, the more creative we get to become, the more kind of we actually contribute to the human race, because we actually offer some really great ideas. You've got Peter Gray, so he's focusing on self-directed education and the importance of play in learning. So Free to Learn by Peter Gray. And Ivan Illich, so he's a critic of institutional schooling and encourages learning networks. So Deschooling Society, helping people to understand that there are other ways of looking at education. It doesn't always have to look the same way. So these are just some of the people who you can go back and have a little look at. You've also got, sorry, I nearly forgot, The Brave Learner by Julie Bogart as well. So she is sort of a more modern philosopher, I guess, in this area, and one that lots of people still absolutely love following. She's on social media. You can kind of see everything that she talks about as well. But essentially, what you need to try and do with these is to maybe read them, maybe do some reading up on them, just go and read some blogs and stuff about them. reflect on your family's values. So what is most important to your family? Like, is it really about the academic achievement? Is it about creativity? Is it about independence? Is it about mental health? And actually, I mean, in my opinion, all of those things are important. But actually, I feel like creativity is one of the most, or the pinnacles of mine, that I want my children to be able to be creative, because that helps us to problem solve. It helps us to overcome challenges down the line. But notice for you, in your family values, what is really important to you? What have your experiences led you to prioritize as an adult? And what have you maybe wished that you maybe had more support on as a child? And really think about that. And how you kind of form the philosophy of your home ed. Observe your child, okay? Most importantly, notice them. How do they learn best? Do they need play? Do they need structure? Do they need conversation? Like, what do they love to do? How do they sort of feed back to you? Do they talk a lot? Do they show you through their play what they're learning about? My youngest, for example, shows me everything through play. She role plays an awful lot, whereas my son is like a brain dumping, fact bombing conversationalist. He loves to just tell me everything that he's been thinking about. So we have lots of really great chats and kind of insightful conversations. But they both learn way better through hands-on, experiential, getting out and about and seeing things. So observe them, notice them, see what they respond to, and then try a little bit of everything. Like, blend the philosophies, evolve as you go. You are responsible for your own life and your own family, and your kids are responsible for their education too. And ultimately, you will try lots of different things and you will adapt, and you can blend them. You don't have to follow any one way specifically. You can absolutely follow whatever makes sense to you. We are really eclectic. We do a bit of unschooly, a bit of project. I really, really love a lot of the talk about creativity and problem solving, critical thinking. We love a really good book. We love using a few books as part of our studies and our projects that we do, but we don't tend to necessarily follow them as a specific kind of like method. And we definitely spend an awful lot of time out in nature. So truly, we do take bits and pieces from all of the people I've mentioned, but then also kind of like get out into your community as well, because meeting people and seeing what other people are doing and getting ideas, try not to take that as an opportunity to constantly beat yourself up, which I know is really, really common in this moment. But ultimately, listen to their stories, listen to what they love to do, observe their kids, observe how they're learning and what they're interested in. And you'll be surprised, I think, by how often that kind of gives you some feedback or ideas, or just prompts a new kind of direction and gives you something else to work on. But ultimately, the point of having kind of awareness of educational philosophy is to remember that home education has been a thing as long as schooling has. It's been a thing for many, many, many millennia, thousands and thousands of years before that, when most families would have educated their children themselves in their local communities, responding to local and community-based needs and skill requirements. And they would have learned from people they were fascinated by, and they would have done it very hands-on and practically in communities where they would have physically been helping to fix cars or farming equipment, or maybe kind of planting things out. And they'd know an awful lot about the land and the wildlife and the pests and the challenges they would face and all these things. And actually, these skills are being lost, and we're losing track of our humanness along the way too. So every little bit that we can kind of glean back is great for us and our kids, and it helps us to live a more grounded and enthusiastic life filled with interests and ideas, which are just really fun, and it makes education a lot more interesting. Focus on relevance, focus on you, your kids, what they need to know about, what philosophies make sense to you, but taking some time to educate yourself around the people who have been passionate about home education for a long time will help you to realize that you're not alone in these beliefs, and you're not alone in wanting this lifestyle, and that actually people have been doing it for as long as people have walked the earth, and that there's nothing wrong with it. It's absolutely a choice which can be incredibly empowering and give you an opportunity to really live a more purposeful and intentional life as a family, and to succeed together, to all of you feel like you can actually make the things happen that matter to you. And yeah, there's an awful lot of good here in the home ed world. A lot of it is about self-empowerment and recognizing that you have choices and that you can make decisions for yourself. So I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and I know that a lot of this can feel very overwhelming. There's a lot of information here. So if you do find yourself wanting more kind of support with this, then remember I'm here. Remember the workbook, you can go and grab that now. It's the Get Your Head Straight to Home Ed workbook that's on my website. So it's offroadingmotherhood.co.uk/work-with-me. Go and have a look for that now, and go and grab it and then follow along. Like go sit and work through the first few bits of that, and it will kind of accompany this sort of series of conversations as well. And ultimately just take your time with this process. It's not once and done. Like you're going to be doing this forever. Every single time changes come up in your lifestyle, you're going to notice how your home ed shifts. And you may be dealing with a lot of challenges at the beginning with a child who's not happy, who's been having a really hard time at school. So it's okay for it to look messy, and it's okay for it to not work very well to start off with, and to have lots of challenges that you're trying to overcome. But if you're feeling like you could do with some support, please just remember that there are people like myself here, whether you want to go and just chat to people in your community and make some friends and get some support that way, whether you could do with a bit of a fast track, just someone who can really help to coach you through the challenges that you're coming up against, then feel free to reach out for some coaching. But I'd love to hear from you regardless. So let me know how this has landed. What's it kind of said to you, and what are you taking away from this episode? All right, guys. Well, I will see you again probably in a couple of weeks with the next one of these. They're going to be sporadically popping up over the summer. There might be some on a Wednesday as well, so just watch out for that. And essentially, I will be kind of coming back with those last 2 episodes. You've got 2 more. So one is about not forgetting you. So how to establish a routine and to make sure that you're not losing you in the process. And then lastly, the non-negotiables, the family values, the kind of how to pull inspiration and to really make your home ed your own. All right, guys, have a great summer, and I'll speak to you all soon. Good luck.